Hey guys, welcome back. When most people think about Cable, they think about giant guns, the glowing eye, and the metal arm. But those are only the parts you can see. Underneath the armor is one of the strangest bodies in Marvel history. Cable was born Nathan Summers, the son of Cyclops and Madelyne Pryor. As a baby, he was infected by Apocalypse with something called the Techno Organic Virus. It's not a normal disease. It's a living infection that slowly transforms organic flesh into techno-organic material. A complete cure was not available at the time, so Nathan was taken to the distant future, where the Ascani possessed technology and knowledge capable of keeping him alive. He grew up to be Cable, a soldier whose body was partly human and partly techno-organic. Every day of his life became a battle between his mutant powers and the infection trying to consume him. His powers should have made him one of the most powerful mutants on Earth. Instead, a significant portion of that power was spent keeping the virus under control. Anyway, without further ado, let's get on with it. How much of Cable's body is still human? At first glance, Cable looks fairly easy to understand. His left arm is made from silver techno-organic material. His left eye glows, and parts of his chest and shoulder are sometimes shown with the same metallic appearance. Most people see him as a man who lost a few body parts and replaced them with cybernetics. The truth is much more complicated. Cable's metallic sections are not ordinary prosthetic limbs bolted onto his body. They're the visible result of the techno-organic virus converting his organic tissue. The infection has spread through portions of the left side of his body, although the exact extent has changed depending on the comic, artist, and period of his life. Some stories depict the infection mainly across his arm, shoulder, chest, neck, and face. Others show a more extensive techno-organic presence beneath the surface. However, Marvel has never provided a consistent anatomical chart proving that most of his skeleton, nervous system, and internal organs have permanently become mechanical. The important thing to understand is that the techno-organic material is not normal metal. Cable's not walking around with steel bolted onto his bones. The virus creates something that behaves as both living tissue and advanced machinery. It can grow through organic matter, convert cells, and form metallic-looking structures that remain connected to his body. That connection allows the converted areas to move and respond as part of Cable rather than as separate equipment. The techno-organic sections can also provide greater durability than normal human flesh. However, claims that the virus automatically gives him faster nerves, stronger internal organs, or machine-like sensory pathways should be treated carefully unless a specific comic directly demonstrates them. This creates a disturbing medical question. Where exactly does Nathan Summers end and the techno-organic system begin? There's no simple answer anymore. Cable is not literally half man and half machine in a mathematically equal sense. He's a human mutant whose body has been partially converted by a techno-organic infection. His flesh, mutations, psychic abilities, and infected tissue have coexisted for decades. The result is a body that's difficult to classify as either an ordinary human body or a conventional cyborg.
It's a techno-organic virus strain. Sinister was likely exposing Nathan to it in the hopes of making him invincible.
What exactly is the techno-organic virus doing inside him? Most biological viruses reproduce by entering cells and using them to create additional copies. The techno-organic virus behaves very differently. Its purpose is not merely to infect organic tissue, it converts that tissue into techno-organic matter. When Apocalypse infected Nathan Summers, the virus began spreading rapidly through his body. Instead of simply killing cells, it transformed them. Organic material became something that resembled living machinery. If allowed to continue unchecked, the virus could eventually consume or convert the victim's body. This should have happened to Nathan. The main reason it didn't was that the Ascani taught him how to use his telekinetic powers to limit the infection and keep it largely contained to the left side of his body. The virus has not always remained in exactly the same condition. Cable has been temporarily cured, reinfected, consumed by it, restored, and affected by different versions of techno-organic material across Marvel continuity. So it would be inaccurate to say that the original infection has remained completely unchanged inside him every second since infancy. In his classic condition, however, the virus remains active enough that Cable must continually suppress it. The visible arm is where the infection is easiest to recognize, but it can extend through other parts of his infected side. Injuries and exhaustion can create additional danger because Cable's concentration and power may weaken. If his control slips, the techno-organic material can begin spreading again. This creates a strange situation. Most people recover from injuries by simply allowing their bodies to heal. Cable may have to recover from the wound while also maintaining psychic control over an infection that's constantly waiting for an opportunity to advance. Even when he appears healthy, that threat can remain. Cable's essentially living in a state of containment. His body's not a patient that permanently recovered. It's a battlefield where the fighting can restart whenever his control fails.
Remember me, Colonel?
How does Cable use his telekinesis as an immune system? Most superheroes use their powers to fight enemies. Cable uses a large portion of his powers to survive. Nathan Summers was born with extraordinary psychic potential. His telepathy and telekinesis have been depicted at extremely high levels, particularly during the periods when the Techno Organic Virus was absent or fully controlled. But there's one major problem. The virus infected him before he had the opportunity to develop those powers freely. As Nathan grew older, the Ascani taught him to use telekinesis to restrain the infection. Instead of directing all of his power toward the outside world, he continually focused part of it inside. Imagine having strength to lift a building, but being forced to spend much of that strength every second just to keep a deadly substance from spreading through your body. That's essentially Cable's situation. A significant portion of his telekinetic ability is dedicated to containing the virus and limiting its effects. However, Marvel rarely explains the process in microscopic medical terms. It's safest to say that Cable uses telekinetic force to hold the infection in check, rather than claiming he individually isolates every infected cell like a psychic surgeon. His telekinesis functions almost like an additional defense system that never completely switches off. The frightening part is what can happen when he's weakened. Whenever Cable becomes exhausted, injured, unconscious, or mentally distracted, the virus can begin pushing forward. That means many of his battles are actually two battles. One that takes place against the enemy in front of him, the second that takes place inside his own body. Many mutants can choose when to activate their powers. Cable doesn't always have that freedom. Part of his psychic ability may remain active even while he sleeps, travels, fights, or suffers an injury. That's why he often does not display the full level of telekinesis that someone with his natural potential should possess. Much of his energy is already occupied. During the stories where the virus was removed or brought completely under control, Cable's psychic abilities increased dramatically because the energy normally spent containing the infection became available for other purposes. Those stories gave readers a glimpse of what he could become. He could move enormous objects, create powerful force fields, manipulate matter, and attack or communicate across great distances. The Cable we normally know is therefore a man forced to use potentially godlike powers as life support. Without that constant psychic pressure, the virus could begin winning. And if it completely consumed him, the Nathan Summers we recognize might disappear beneath the conversion. How strong is Cable's techno-organic arm, really? The first thing most people notice about Cable is the metallic left arm. This is one of the most famous visual features in X-Men history. The silver arm looks powerful, dangerous, and nearly indestructible. But it's not simply a replacement limb. It's a living part of the infection. Unlike a normal robot arm, Cable's techno-organic arm remains connected to his body and responds through his normal physical and neurological control. The virus didn't simply attach a machine to his shoulder. It converted the existing tissue into techno-organic matter. That makes the limb part flesh, part machinery, and part living infection. The arm is generally depicted as stronger and more durable than an ordinary human arm. Cable can use it to block attacks, strike opponents, handle heavy weaponry, and survive damage that would completely destroy normal tissue. However, the arm alone is not always the source of Cable's overall superhuman feats. Cable also possesses mutant abilities, extensive combat training, advanced armor, future technology, and telekinesis. When he punches through a barrier or lifts an enormous object, it may involve a combination of physical strength and telekinetic reinforcement, rather than the arm acting independently like a hydraulic machine. The arm is also not completely indestructible. It's been damaged, disabled, infected further, altered, and replaced in different stories. Because the limb's connected to techno-organic systems, Cable has sometimes used it to interact with machinery or advanced technology. However, the precise functions change from story to story. It shouldn't be automatically described as a built-in universal computer capable of hacking every system he touches. What makes the arm unsettling is that it appears useful while also representing the disease trying to consume him. Most people look at Cable's arm and see equipment, but it's not ordinary equipment. It's a living part of an infection that Nathan learned to control and use. The limb is tougher and potentially stronger than normal flesh. Every advantage it offers comes from the same force threatening as humanity's.
Good.
Question: why did you not destroy Bishop?
What does Cable's glowing eye actually see? Cable's glowing left eye is one of the most recognizable features of Marvel Comics. Whenever an artist draws him, that bright light is usually present. Many readers assume it's simply a design choice, but the eye has been connected to the techno-organic side of his body and, in some portrayals, to his cybernetic or sensory enhancements. However, the exact capabilities of the eye have never been completely consistent. Some stories and reference material have suggested that Cable can use his enhanced eye to analyze targets, scan environments, detect energy, receive information, or access visual modes beyond normal human sight. Other stories treat the glow more like a visual indication of the techno-organic infection or his psychic powers. It would therefore be too absolute to claim that the eye always provides infrared vision, radiation detection, weapon identification, and complete battlefield analysis. Those abilities depend on the particular version of Cable and the technology available to it. Cable frequently uses advanced weapons, armor, computers, and targeting systems from the future. Some information that appears to come from his eye may actually come from external equipment or telepathic perception. In several stories, his eye glows more intensely when he activates his psychic powers. That visual connection has encouraged readers to associate the eye with telepathy and telekinesis. But the glow itself is not proof that the organ independently detects psychic ability. The safest conclusion is that Cable's left eye is connected to his techno-organic condition and has sometimes functioned as an enhanced sensory system. Its exact limits remain flexible. Where ordinary people see a room, Cable may combine normal sight, technological information, telepathic awareness, battlefield experience, and future equipment. His glowing eye is therefore more than a decoration, but it shouldn't be credited with every scanning ability Cable has ever displayed. Can the Techno Organic Virus actually make Cable stronger? At first, the question sounds ridiculous. How could a deadly infection possibly make someone stronger? Cable's situation has never been normal. The Techno Organic Virus damages and converts his organic body. At the same time, the converted portions can be tougher and more resistant to injury than ordinary human tissue. His techno-organic arm is durable. His infected side can withstand certain impacts and injuries that might destroy an ordinary limb. In that limited sense, the virus provides physical advantages. But claims that it automatically strengthens his entire skeleton, enhances his reaction speed, improves every sensory system, and upgrades all his internal organs are not consistently supported. Some of Cable's physical abilities come from training. Some come from equipment. Some come from psychic reinforcement. Others may come from temporary enhancements or changes in the virus. The infection offers useful properties, but it always demands something in return. Every additional area converted means that more of Nathan's organic body has been lost or altered. That creates one of the biggest contradictions in Cable's life. The thing that can make parts of him more durable is also trying to erase him. Several stories have shown what happens when the virus is removed or suppressed. Cable's psychic powers can increase dramatically because he no longer needs to dedicate so much telekinetic energy to containing it. In these moments, he's operated at extraordinary levels. However, the idea that Cable's body permanently depends upon the virus as a life support structure is not a universal rule. Cable has existed without the techno-organic virus during several periods and has survived after being cured or altered. The consequences depend on the specific story and the condition of his body at the time. The virus is therefore a disease, a source of physical durability, and occasionally a tool. But calling it a necessary life support in every era would go too far. The frightening part is not that Cable cannot live without it. The frightening part is that he spent so much of his life adapting to something that was designed to destroy it.
I want to intercept Bishop.
What happens if Cable loses the battle against the virus? Cable has spent much of his life fighting the techno-organic virus. But what happens if he finally loses? Marvel's given us several possible answers. The virus attempts to continue converting organic material until the infected body becomes increasingly techno-organic. Cable has repeatedly suffered moments when the infection spread beyond its normal boundaries. During the Second Coming storyline, Cable allowed the virus to consume him while holding open a time portal long enough for Hope Summers and the others to escape. His body appeared to be overwhelmed by techno-organic material, and he was presumed dead. He later returned and was restored. This is one of the clearest examples of what can happen when Cable stops resisting. The infection doesn't need to kill him in the ordinary sense. It can transform his body until very little recognizable organic tissue remains. Whether his mind would survive complete conversion depends upon the story. The original draft referred to the alternate Earth X future as the most famous example of Cable becoming an enormous metallic structure. That description should be treated cautiously because alternate universe versions of Cable and techno-organic transformations don't automatically reveal the inevitable fate of the mainstream Earth 616 Cable. What mainstream continuity clearly establishes is that the virus can consume his body and apparently kill him if it spreads without restraint. Imagine watching your hand become metallic, then your arm, chest, neck, and then face. Now imagine remaining conscious while the infection continues advancing. That's the nightmare Cable has spent his life trying to avoid. The virus may be contained for years. Wars may end, civilizations may rise and fall, but if the infection remains active, it waits for another moment of weakness. Cable's greatest enemy is therefore not only Apocalypse and strive for another supervillain, it's also the condition already living inside him.
Go again. Bishop. I already know that part.
How does time travel physically affect his body? Most heroes use time travel as a shortcut. Cable has experienced it as a normal part of life. He's moved across centuries, alternate timelines, and possible futures so frequently that time travel has become inseparable from his identity. Cable often uses technology referred to as body sliding. Depending on the era, this may involve teleportation through space, time travel, or technology linked to his artificial intelligence systems and future equipment. However, Marvel has not established that body sliding routinely takes Cable's body apart at the cellular level and requires him to telekinetically hold himself together. That explanation is an interesting theory, but it should not be presented as confirmed anatomy. Cable's techno-organic condition can complicate time travel in specific stories. Technology, infections, equipment, and injuries must all move with it. He's also experienced temporal damage, timeline changes, accelerated aging, physical de-aging, and replacement by younger or older versions of himself. But those effects usually result from particular events rather than from every time jump placing the same medical strain on his body. Cable is exceptionally experienced with temporal technology. He knows how to operate devices, select coordinates, survive damaged timelines, and adjust to altered histories. The greatest physical danger usually comes from malfunctioning equipment, unstable portals, hostile destinations, or interference from other time travelers. The Techno Organic Virus may become harder to control if Cable's already injured or exhausted during the journey. But the claim that every jump gives the virus a guaranteed opportunity to spread has not been consistently established. For most people, traveling to another century would be the adventure of a lifetime. For Cable, it's often just another mission. How did growing up in the Ascani future shape his anatomy? Most people focus on the virus when talking about Cable's body. But there's another major reason he's physically different. He did not grow up in the modern era. After Apocalypse infected him as a baby, Nathan Summers was taken approximately 2,000 years into the future by the Ascani. The future he entered was not peaceful. It was a harsh world shaped by Apocalypse's rule, rebellion, war, and survival. That environment shaped Nathan physically and psychologically. The Ascani possessed advanced knowledge that allowed them to save his life, although they couldn't permanently cure the virus. Jean Grey and the comatose mother Ascani helped teach Nathan how to use his telekinesis to keep the infection in check. Scott Summers and Jean Grey were later transported into cloned bodies and raised to Nathan under the identities Slim and Red. Without the Ascani's intervention, Cable probably would not have survived infancy. However, it is misleading to describe his arm and eye as conventional medical replacements installed by future doctors. Those features primarily resulted from the techno-organic infection itself. Future medicine helped Nathan survive and manage the condition. It didn't simply replace lost flesh with ordinary prosthetics. Medicine was only part of the story. Nathan also grew up as a soldier. From a young age, he trained in a world where survival depended upon strength, endurance, strategy, and discipline. Years of combat built muscle and conditioned his body to operate under constant pressure. His broad frame and remarkable endurance do not only come from the virus. They also reflect genetics, training, equipment, telekinetic reinforcement, and decades spent fighting. The virus changed his body. The Ascani helped him manage it. A lifetime of warfare shaped him into Cable. Does Cable still feel pain in his metal parts? Many people assume Cable's metallic arm must be numb. It would make sense if it were a normal machine. But Cable's body does not follow normal rules. The techno-organic arm is still part of it. It moves according to his intention, remains connected to his body, and could be damaged. Cable has reacted when the infected side of his body has been struck or destabilized. That strongly suggests that he possesses some form of sensation through the techno-organic areas. However, Marvel has not provided a detailed neurological explanation proving that every metallic section transmits pressure, temperature, and pain exactly like normal flesh. Some stories show him reacting to damage. Others show the arm enduring punishment with little visible discomfort. The sensation may depend on how much biological tissue remains, how the infection is behaving, and whether the limb is functioning more like living tissue or machinery at that time. It's therefore reasonable to say that Cable can feel damage to his techno-organic side. It's not safe to claim that every part contains a normal human-style pain network. The important point is that the metallic side is not simply detached armor. Damage to it can affect his body, mobility, concentration, and control of the virus. Cable does not continue fighting because he's incapable of feeling pain. He continues because he spent decades learning how to function despite pain. Every battle places stress on his organic body, infected tissue, and psychic concentration. Yet, he continues fighting. That pain tolerance is as central to Cable as any weapon he carries. How different is movie Cable's anatomy from the comics? If your main exposure to Cable came from Deadpool 2, you might think you understand his body. Josh Brolin's version captured the basic visual image. He had the metallic arm, he had the glowing eye, he came from a devastated future, and he traveled through time. The essentials were there, but much of the character's biological horror was either removed or left unexplained. In the film, Cable's arm appears to be an advanced cybernetic or techno-organic limb. Mechanical elements also extended around his neck and face. However, the movie never clearly identifies Apocalypse, the Techno Organic Virus, the Ascani, Madelyne Pryor, or Cable's need to use telekinesis to restrain an infection. The film doesn't even clearly establish the same mutant psychic abilities associated with the comic version. Movie Cable therefore feels more like a traditional soldier with advanced cybernetic enhancement. Comic Cable is far more complicated. His metallic arm is traditionally the result of an infection converting his body. His psychic powers are continually tied to the struggle against that infection. Most importantly, the comics focused on the constant war taking place inside him. Without that detail, the movie version's easier to understand. Movie Cable is a soldier with advanced technology. Comic Cable is a mutant whose body has been partially rewritten by techno-organic material. The difference is enormous. One version carries machine-like enhancements. The other spends much of his life preventing a living infection from converting the rest of it. Is Cable technically a cyborg or something worse? People usually describe Cable as a cyborg. That description is understandable. Part of his body appears human while another part appears mechanical. But the word does not tell the whole story. A traditional cyborg starts with an organic body and has technology added afterward. That technology may include robotic limbs, artificial organs, implants, armor, or computer systems. Cable's situation is different. The machine-like material inside him was not originally installed. It grew through him as an infection. The Techno Organic Virus transformed his tissue from within. That makes him more complicated than a conventional cyborg. He's also a mutant. His telepathy and telekinesis come from his genetics rather than from machinery. So Cable's body combines at least 3 elements. Nathan Summers remains an organic human mutant. Parts of his body have been converted into techno-organic material. He uses advanced equipment and cybernetic technology from the future. All of those systems interact. Cable has not permanently become a full techno-organic being in the mainstream continuity. He still retains a human identity and significant organic tissue. Calling him a cyborg is not completely wrong, but it is incomplete. Cable's not simply a man with machine parts, he's a mutant living in a partially converted body while using psychic power to prevent further conversion. What happens to Cable's powers when the virus is suppressed? One of the biggest tragedies in Cable's life is that readers rarely see the full extent of his natural ability. Most mutants use their powers against enemies. Cable uses a significant portion of his telekinesis against the infection inside him. That means the Cable we usually see is operating with a major limitation. Imagine a powerful engine forced to spend most of its output running a cooling system merely to avoid destroying itself. The machine still works, but it can't direct all its energy towards movement. That's essentially Cable's situation. When the virus has been weakened, removed, cured, or brought under total control, his psychic abilities have increased dramatically. He's displayed extremely powerful telepathy. His telekinesis has allowed him to move enormous objects, form defensive barriers, dismantle machinery, manipulate matter, and confront powerful opponents. During the Cable and Deadpool era, Cable operated at an especially high level after gaining far greater access to his psychic abilities. However, Cable's power levels have changed repeatedly. His abilities have been burnt out, restored, limited, replaced by technology, enhanced, and altered by different writers and story events. It would therefore be inaccurate to treat every single high-level feat as something he could perform constantly. It would also be misleading to say that removing the virus necessarily destabilizes his body because he's become dependent on it. Cable survived periods without the original virus. Hope Summers has also cured or altered his condition in certain stories. The core rule is simpler. When Cable is not spending enormous psychic effort suppressing the virus, he can access much more of his telepathic and telekinetic potential. The cruel irony is that the condition limiting his life also prevents the Marvel Universe from regularly seeing how powerful Nathan Summers could truly be. How many wars has Cable's body actually survived? Even without the virus, Cable's body should have broken down long ago. The amount of punishment he's survived is almost impossible to calculate. Nathan Summers grew up in a future dominated by war. From an early age, he fought against Apocalypse and other threats. As an adult, the battles only became more intense. He fought across different centuries, he fought in alternate futures. He fought in wars that were later erased or changed by time travel. Every one of those battles left some kind of mark. A normal human soldier eventually reaches a limit. Years of combat wear down joints, muscles, bones, and organs. Old injuries accumulate. Recovery becomes slower. Cable should have reached that point many years ago. Part of the reason he continues is advancement in future medicine. Technology from the era that raised him could treat injuries in ways modern medicine can't match. His armor and equipment also protect him. His telekinesis can reinforce his body, create shields, and reduce the impact of attacks. The Techno Organic material makes portions of him more durable than normal flesh. However, the infection does not automatically regenerate every wound like Wolverine's healing factor. Cable can still be injured. He can suffer scars, broken bones, damaged organs, exhaustion, and long-term physical decline. His body's also been cloned, restored, rejuvenated, de-aged, replaced, and altered through time travel and future technology. That makes any straightforward count of his wars or physical age almost impossible. Just think about what he survived. Gunfire, explosions, energy weapon, combat with superhumans, time travel disasters, mutant wars, future rebellions, and the constant effort required to restrain the virus. Most people would not survive one of those experiences. Cable has survived all of them repeatedly. His body resembles an old battlefield. Every scar tells a story. Every repaired injury hides another layer of damage. Somehow, despite everything, he's still standing. Not because he's completely unbreakable, but because every time life breaks him, Nathan Summers finds another way to continue fighting. So what part of Cable's anatomy disturbed you the most? The Techno Organic Virus? The living metallic arm? Or the fact that his own powers function like a full-time containment system? And which Marvel character should receive the terrifying anatomy treatment next? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell so when we come up with more X-Men content, you find out first. We'll see you in the next one.